Welcome everyone. It's really good to have you all with us today. Nice to see some familiar names on the registration, so a warm welcome to you all. This session is recorded and we'll make the slides and the recording available after the session. Before we dive in, you do have the option of using the questions and answers panel in the Microsoft Teams, so it should just be a wee Q&A button that you can toggle on, and we'll do our best to answer as many questions as you submit towards the end of the session today. We are going to kick off with just a quick poll. So where are you on your AI journey? How do you feel at the moment? Where are you? Have you not started? Are you dabbling? Are you rolling it out? Is it embedded within your organisation? So I'll leave that poll up for just a moment and we'll introduce myself. So my name is Liz Smith. I'm the Business Development Director at Lugo, and I'm hosting today's session alongside two brilliant guests from Ingram Micro. So I work primarily with accountancy and professional services firms across Scotland, typically in the kind of 10 to 75 user space, acting as a fractional CIO. I'm a National Cybersecurity Centre Cyber Advisor. So that's a UK government-backed recognition of our cybersecurity expertise here at Lugo. And it's why everything we do around AI adoption starts with security. We pulled this webinar together because I kept hearing the same thing from organisations across Scotland, that they want to use AI, but they don't really know if it's safe and they don't really know where to start. So hopefully today we'll be able to answer both of those things. A very warm welcome from all the team at Lugo. For those who have not come across us before, Lugo is a managed IT company based in Scotland. We're a cybersecurity partner. Our headquarters are in Edinburgh, but our team cover the whole of Scotland as far north as Orkney and Shetland. We're working with regulated organisations right across the country, from accountancy and wealth management firms to housing associations and professional services organisations. We've been trusted by ICAS member firms since 2003. We are Cyber Essentials Plus and ISO 9001 quality certified. And our approach is built on 4 simple things: leading, uniting, growing, and outstanding service. You may notice our values have a wee bit of a Lugo connection. But today we're here to help you cut through the noise around AI. Microsoft 365 Copilot is a genuine game changer. I've been using it for quite a while now, and it's one of those things that's the same as moving from one screen to 2 screens. Once you've gone there, it's very difficult to go back. But only if you adopt it really in a way that keeps your data, your people, and your reputation safe. And that's where we come in, helping Scottish organisations embrace AI securely, confidently, and with a clear sense of what good actually looks like. So make yourself comfortable, get your questions ready, and let's get stuck in. I'll just open up the next poll. So if we launch this one, just interested to hear which AI tools have you already been experimenting with, and predominantly at work. I appreciate that in our personal lives we may dabble in other elements of AI, but from a work perspective, which tools have you been experimenting with? So I'm delighted to introduce you to our guests from Ingram Micro. David has 25 years of Microsoft experience and 12 years at Ingram. He focuses on structured AI adoption and helping organisations get real return on investment from Copilot, not just switching it on, but actually making it work for you. And Ben is Ingram Micro's Microsoft pre-sales lead for modern work and security. Ben specialises in enabling Copilot adoption for partners and customers, translating technical capability into real commercial outcomes. So between them, they have seen every flavour of Copilot roll out, the ones that go really well and the ones that maybe don't go so well. And today they're going to share exactly what makes that difference. So don't forget on the way through to use the Q&A panel if you've got any questions on their presentation on the way through. So here's what we're covering today, just 6 simple sections. We're in the introduction at the moment, and then I'll hand straight over to David and Ben from Ingram Micro for the main body of the session, and they'll cover Microsoft Copilot in practice, how to adopt AI securely, and how to get genuine return on investment. So these 3 sections are the heart of today's webinar and not to be missed. It's packed full of really amazing information to share with you. And then I'll pick back up for the final 2 sections, all about making sure that you're ready for AI. So before we jump in, just one other poll. So let me just put that one live. So when it comes to Copilot in your organisation at the moment, which of the following applies to you? And you can tick as many as you feel appropriate. So without further ado, I shall hand over to David and Ben, over to you both. And while I do so, just to give you a wee bit more information on the Q&A tab, just type in your question and also have a read through any other questions that are in there as well, and give any ones that you feel are applicable to you as well a thumbs up. And then that means it just helps us spot the ones that people really want answered live. So I will just close that, and then I will hand over to David.
Thank you so much, Liz. That's a very nice introduction. And welcome, everybody. We're going to run through some information around Microsoft 365 Copilot. We're leaning very much on a Microsoft content here, so we're looking at how intelligence and trust works together to provide that underlying base platform for your AI requirements within a workplace, and why really Microsoft 365 is fairly unique in that workspace. This is always a very interesting slide, and really starts to help understand how that massive ramp has seen the adoption of AI. I'm old enough and long enough in the tooth to remember the introduction of mobile phones, but you know, they're so ubiquitous now. But the time to reach that 100 million user mark, 16 years. The time even for the internet to reach 100 million users is 7 years. Even Facebook, 4.5 years, and ChatGPT just 3 months to that 100 million users. And the evolution is continuing. The change, the rate of change, the growth is phenomenal with AI. It is everywhere. I use the word ubiquitous for mobile phones. We can't imagine life without that, or without the internet nowadays. I think AI is very much in that bucket. Perhaps not quite there yet, that people feel they can't live without it, but I think once you start using it, once you start seeing the value of it, then it's certainly in that same conversation. Using data here from Microsoft's Work Trend Index. The Work Trend Index is a survey that Microsoft carry out every year, looking at how people interact with Microsoft technology. So this uses not only signals from users who have Microsoft 365, it's within their cloud environment, but also from questionnaires and the like. And we can see here some of the trends around SMB users. So SMB users, 76% in 2024 are using AI tools, and we'll come to what that consists of in a second. And 2025, 86%. So we're seeing a marked growth. I very much suspect that 2026 is seeing another increase there. Is that AI sanctioned though, or is this what we're terming shadow AI? So regardless of how the business is focused, whether the business is got sanctioned AI, whether they think they're using AI, almost invariably their workers certainly are using AI, and this stat really sort of points to that factor. We can certainly see that, and then that may just be the free versions of the likes of ChatGPT or Gemini, perhaps Claude, or it may be paid for, but there are considerations around security, compliance, and how data and applications interact with that. So shadow AI is definitely a factor to consider. And if you don't do AI properly, then invariably your users are still using it to create and generate work. And added to the adoption numbers here, I think there's a lot of this sense of FOMO, fear of missing out, of AI users fear falling behind. They don't necessarily know why they're using AI, but they hear everybody else using it. So there's this genuine need to feel included, to have those skills, and AI skills without doubt are going to become an absolute part of any professional's arsenal as they move forward. So that sense of missing out, I think, is important, but I think that really needs structured adoption to make sure that you're really getting value from the AI usage, that you're using it in a structured and safe manner, that you're using an ethical AI and managed AI solution. Some businesses, I think, here looking at that center stat, say it's safer to focus on current goals than redesign work to work with AI. And there's certainly an element of having to change the way you work to make AI work for you. So I think there's certainly some stats there that really sort of lean into that. And then this final stat, which I really like, I think 80% of people, and I think this is primarily people using licensed versions of AI, they're saying they can do work that they wouldn't have been able to do a year ago. I absolutely resonate with that stat and that fact, because I've not had a Copilot license for more than a year now, but certainly the way that I interact with it on a daily basis, it's certainly changed what I can do and how I can do it and how quickly and efficiently, and the quality of work. It's not just that I'm doing necessarily tasks that I couldn't do manually, but certainly without leaning on other members of staff, other departments, and the time to execution is far quicker. So definitely seeing a return on investment in terms of efficiency and ability there. So as we said at the introduction, very much Microsoft Copilot is all about this balance between intelligence and trust. And intelligence in this instance, that is the AI layer, if you like. That's the clever part, the part that does the work, that generates the content, that helps you research detail, that helps you bring things back, that helps you create content and images and video and any number of other elements or artifacts, as Microsoft have started calling them. But the benefits with Microsoft 365 is that this natively connects across your apps and your data. So Copilot is embedded into Outlook, into Word, into Teams, into Excel, into PowerPoint, and it natively interacts with your user capability. It understands where your data is. It understands your work context, and it can bring all that richness into any situation that you're working with the AI. This is a huge benefit over some of the third party vendors, certainly for organizations where their data sits within the Microsoft ecosystem. So if you have data in SharePoint, in Teams, in OneDrive, in email, perhaps documents or Excel files or anything in that like, it all is collated. It's collated across the apps. It's collated across your data silos and brings that all together in a single experience. The AI also reasons over context and not just keywords. So it's not just an enhanced Google search, for example, that's trying to keyword match. It understands the question you're asking because fundamentally AI is all about language. We listen to the acronyms LLM, large language model. It's cognizant in detailing how to interact with language. It understands your context by understanding what you're saying. And it's now completing work, not just answering questions. So leaning again on that point about it not being an enhanced search engine, this is doing work for you. This is creating documents. It's creating finished articles. Not saying that you should ever publish it without having that editorial overview, and that obviously you own or you must take ownership of that before you kind of press go and publish these things. But it's getting much better at generating a finished document, not necessarily just a draft, but you can iterate, you can build, you can edit, you can tailor, and there's no fear of this blank sheet of paper anymore, this writer's block. AI can really help you generate that content. But the trust piece is just as important, and that's the pillar that a lot of us focus on. Perhaps a lot of us, certainly in controlled environments and that kind of thing, are really concerned about and have fear about, is the ability to secure your data, make sure that it's not used to train the public models, that it's not going to leak outside of your environment. Trust is very much a part of what Microsoft offer within the Copilot ecosystem. So long as you sign in with your Microsoft 365 account, you are instantly protected by what's called enterprise data protection. That sits as a little green shield inside your Copilot chat, and you sit there and you know full well that then you are inside the Microsoft enterprise data protection boundary. That guarantees that your data is not going to be used to train the public models. Your prompts are not going to be used externally. It also sits on the basic ethical controls and trust that Microsoft publishes around the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So encrypted data at rest, encrypted data at transit, honoring your geo location, making sure that it's not copywriting or breaching copyright, those kind of things within the AI. And there's a large ethical piece of trust that Microsoft publish within the Microsoft Trust Center, which is part of Microsoft.com. Really helpful, and lots of legal guidance around the terms and conditions of how they interact with you. So it's key also that you understand that Copilot doesn't give you superpowers in terms of the ability to see things that you weren't supposed to see. It honors your existing permissions matrix and structures, so it can only do what the user can do. That said, if your data is not in a good state, if it's not well structured, if your permission structure is not well maintained and well ordered, then you risk having users that can see things that they didn't realize they could see, and Copilot certainly can surface that. That's what we call oversharing. That's a significant concern, but there are ways to mitigate and to reduce that risk that will come to as we move forward. And the final part of that trust puzzle is this auditable and observable controls. all of your purview controls, all of your data security and your security controls and your enter controls are all applied as they would be to Microsoft 365 to Copilot, and that's an absolute fundamental takeaway, that you have this paired guarantee of the underlying intelligence layer and this trust layer that really makes that foundation super strong. As we said, the native embedded activity here, so what Microsoft call the UI for AI, so all the applications that you use on a daily basis, the UIs that you're familiar with, user interface for those that don't like the acronyms, but if you're using Excel on a daily basis as your go-to work environment, then Copilot's available within Excel. If you use PowerPoint, the same. If you use Word, the same. You've obviously got Copilot Chat as well, which kind of brings all of them together and gives you that capability. And there are two fundamental flavors of Copilot within the business SKU. All business users, so anyone who has a business standard or a business premium SKU, will get the free Copilot Chat, which is lit up as soon as you have your license. I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. And then there's those that have a full license. So that's the Microsoft 365 Copilot or Copilot for Business, depending on how Microsoft word it, but they're fundamentally the same product. The Copilot Chat is powerful if you think of it as Microsoft's version of ChatGPT, because it's using the ChatGPT foundation model underneath. That's what it is, but it is protected by that enterprise data protection boundary. It's only grounded in web data. So this is a really good way to get started for an organization, is that because it doesn't ground your work data, it doesn't search your work data, you are at less risk of exposure of those kind of things from a introduction perspective. Great way to start, and you've got the benefit obviously of being behind that enterprise data protection boundary, but it really is focused only on the web. From a grounding perspective, you can drag work files into it, but it doesn't natively call on that context. The paid for version gives you a completely different experience because it uses what's called the Microsoft Graph and Work IQ. The graph is effectively a map of all the permissions, all the controls, all of your contacts, all of your conversations, all of your emails, all of your documents. So it can pull all that context into the usage. So say, for example, you're building a new Word document for asking about a project that you're working on. Maybe you've had some email conversations about that. Maybe there's been some Teams chats. Maybe there's some documents or some PDF attachments that have been used. Perhaps there's some things in SharePoint or OneDrive. It can collate all of that into a single pane of glass, effectively bringing that whole context into the conversation. So it's already understanding the context of what you're writing to begin that process. It makes that finished piece of work so much simpler to get to a point where it's really polished, really full featured and full of the knowledge that is in the work context of that. So that's the fundamental difference between the two. The experience, as I say, I've not had my Copilot license for more than about 6 or 8 months, but having that work IQ piece has totally transformed the way I do things. The understanding is phenomenal, and it's a jump back now to go to the basic version. But as I say, the basic version is a really good way in because it does alleviate some of those data readiness concerns, and it's also protected by your Microsoft ecosystem security controls. As we said, Copilot absolutely lives within the apps that you know. So these are slightly older versions of the applications now. It tends to sit on the newest versions right down in the bottom corner here, but it's always embedded, so in the toolbars or floating on the bottom right hand side of the window, and you can invoke Copilot from there. It can interact directly with the documents, or you can use it as a chat sidebar effectively to bring content into that window. The paid for version also comes with these pre-built agents. I won't dwell too long on them, but it's a really powerful add-in to what's possible. The Word, Excel, and PowerPoint agents allow you to edit directly. They're not called Word, Excel, and PowerPoint agents anymore. This is a classic Microsoft trait, but they've updated the name now to call it edit mode within those specific apps. But you can bring those in, and it's generating content direct into the document. There's no building it into the chat and then copying, pasting into the document. This is doing it dynamically with you as you work. The researcher and analyst agents and also the designer agent are also what they call pre-built or pre-built agents that sit within the Copilot ecosystem. And the researcher basically is a research assistant that you can call on, so that will go off and do very deep research for you. The analyst agent is a data analyst, so looking at large data sets, bringing back insights and illustrations on that data. We've got the facilitator agent that sits over the top of Teams. It's a note taker, but also keeps you on track, has a progress bar along the top of your meeting, making sure that you stay on topic and stay on time when you're delivering a session such as this. You can build agents or use agents directly within SharePoint, which is focused on the library or the site that it's focused on. And the app builder agent and the workflows agent is leveraged to build your own agents effectively. So within that Copilot chat, you have the capability to build your own agents, automate your own tasks, take some of that heavy lifting of those repetitive and mundane tasks, allowing us to get on to doing things that we want to do with our time rather than otherwise. This is always a really good insight into how we can get the best out of Copilot, trying 10 different things here, using the various applications and capabilities within Copilot. As we said, it works across all these apps, but the summarization is a huge thing. We can do that from either directly within, if we're going to use Teams messages, we can use Copilot in Teams, but Copilot chat will work just as well. Drafting email responses. The one thing with Work IQ, which perhaps I didn't lean into, is that it can start to learn to sound like you. So it learns your tone. So you can start to sound, or Copilot can start to sound like you when it's drafting emails. I'm not quite sure I'm ready to let it do that for me now and send emails out, but certainly in getting good drafts and getting that content ready to go is a big part of the time saving. Voice chat. Liz actually shared this one with me, but she uses it as a back and forth chat. So using it within perhaps Apple CarPlay within your car, and you can have to and fro conversations. It can be educational. It can talk about all sorts of things. It can take the persona of something. Really great use case. Building and generating documentation, preparing for meetings is fantastic. Nowadays, so many of us are back to back with meetings, have very little time between to catch up. Perhaps someone's put a meeting in without giving you much context. This gives you the ability to lean into that, ask it to help you prepare. It can lean into any emails that have happened, lean on those conversations, some Teams chats. Perhaps there's some backup documentation that you just need to summarize to get yourself into that space where your head is ready for that Teams meeting. Summarizing team updates within SharePoint directly. Status reports. So this is using the, as we said, edit mode within Word direct into the document themselves. Generating PowerPoint content. This is a huge time saver for me. I spend quite a lot of time generating PowerPoint not the best skill that I have myself, but the ability to use Copilot to help you with that content generation and image generation for that. I do tend to lean on the designer agent that sits within Copilot Chat to help me generate some of those images, and they're really, really good nowadays. Once upon a time, you could always tell an AI image. It's not so much now. It's they're really powerful, very polished. Obviously, a lot of guys here are within the financial sector, so using Copilot within Excel. This has been a developed skill for a while. Copilot in Excel was in preview for a long time and took a long time to really get up to speed. But now the power of what it can do for you, be that just helping you with formulas, or doing advanced analytics, generating content, generating visualizations, generating, asking questions of the data that you have, fantastically powerful. And as I mentioned, the researcher agent there, really powerful for doing those deep research things, so it can go off and do multiple web searches and collate all that documentation into a single bite-size review and overview of what you're trying to do, and then help you build whatever it is. So whether you're doing some sort of research project or whether you're just finding out, as much public data as you can about a prospective customer or something, the researcher agent is really powerful for those kind of things. A little bit cheesy, this slide, but it's quite illustrative of how to, really get some time saving wins out of Copilot. I don't know about you guys, but certainly from our perspective, we do have a 9 o'clock stand up on a Monday morning. Perhaps you've been away for the weekend and you've got a large number of emails sitting in your mailbox. That's always the quick way to destroy a long weekend away is email Armageddon on a Monday morning. But this is definitely a way to help. You may have quotes to generate. You may have to prepare for your stand up, and you may have a proposal that's due on the Friday morning. So using Copilot, you can triage your inbox. You can set, work out what's priority. What do I need to action? What do I need to respond to? It can help you draft replies. It can help you with the quotes that you need to draft. Really powerful for those kind of things, and certainly learns from the context that you've previously done. Get your stand-up prep done, 90 seconds there. That's not unrealistic to get your prep done. What have I done in the last week? What do I need to communicate in this session? And then your first proposal draft in 15 minutes. That may be an iterative process to get to a point where it's ready to publish, but it's really, really impressive. And it's those little savings that add up, adding up 5, 10, 15 minutes savings here, maybe 20 minutes there. And you can quite easily save 4, 5, 6 hours at the end of the week, and numbers of hours at the end of a month. And that's where the productivity and the return on investment really comes into play. This is a useful illustration from the brand new Work Trend Index. So that was published in May this year. So this really shows how people are using Copilot, or Copilot Chat particularly, how that split of using work across analytics, interaction, producing work, and information gathering is split across across organizations. Again, that Work Trend Index is a Microsoft sponsored survey, so they have a lot of signals there that they can interpret, but also questionnaire and survey responses. We've got a couple here now of a day in the life. So again, because I know a lot of you guys are from a financial background, perhaps this is a really useful slide to show how we can really utilize Copilot in getting some benefit for and time saving, efficiency saving within that daytime activities. So using agent mode in Excel to look at the COGS estimates here for a new product. We maybe then have a meeting with our manager. We can get main project for the day and review the due diligence information for in Copilot chat. We can use Copilot in Excel to update acquisition numbers, and throughout the day, obviously, you can utilize it across a number of different work streams, a number of different factors. So really powerful how you can interact. And as I say, it doesn't matter which application you're in. You can jump into Copilot and help you create, collate, overview, review, all those kind of things. I've got a similar example here for the HR process. So looking at job postings, creating interview questions, researching salary levels. So that's obviously a market rates search to make sure that you're competitive. Using Copilot chat in Outlook here to make introductions, creating onboard materials and creating offer letters. Just some simple introductions. We'll talk a little bit more about the scenario library right at the end of this session, but Microsoft published that resource pool, and you can jump into various personas to look at how to, within a job role, a job type, an industry vertical, you can get specific pointers of the kinds of use cases you can use to generate to make that return on investment for you. With that said, I'm going to now pass over to my colleague Ben. He's going to run through a few quick demos for you just to give you a flavour of how to utilise Copilot in that work environment.
Thank you, David. I'm just going to share my screen. So just give me 2 seconds.
Just open up a poll at the same time.
So my screen should be showing now. So these are Microsoft simulated demos. So some little bits have changed within this. Microsoft update these quite regularly. But I've got a couple of scenarios I'm going to take you through. So first one, we're going to focus more on the Copilot chat element. And we're sat here, we're in Microsoft Outlook at the moment. And we can see we've got the Copilot button in the top right-hand corner. We're just going to click on that, and that will open the Copilot panel on the right-hand side for us. What we can do is then just message Copilot. So we're looking at the email on the screen, and we're asking Copilot to draft a recap of the email just so we can share it with our launch team. So this isn't going to change anything within the email. The chat element is just going to create the notes and start creating content separately for us that would need to copy and paste. But we can see, here we go, it's looked at the email thread and it's generated that content for us. What we can then do is start to jump in to the actual documents and the applications. So again, this is where it has changed. So Copilot might be on the top right, it might be in the bottom right. It does like to move. Microsoft will do an app update and it will move again, or the color will change, or the logo. So just be prepared for that. But again, we've got Copilot on the right-hand side, but we're going to give it some instructions for how we want Copilot to talk to us as well. So in this case, we want the content and we want the chat from that to be concise. So we've given it the instructions. So now when it responds to us, that's how it will respond. So again, we'll put our next prompt in. So we want an executive summary in a bulleted list. And we can see we've actually got an executive summary section on the main document as well. I said this is Copilot chat, so it's not going to edit the document. If we're in edit mode or agent mode, it would actually create it in the document for us. But we can see it's actually made the summary for us, and then we can actually just copy that out, go into the section we want and paste it directly in. If we jump back into the email, we can see we've got a spreadsheet here as well. So we can open that within Excel. We've got Copilot on the right-hand corner again. We open the panel. In this case, we're going to ask it to create a bar chart for us. And we're looking at the satisfaction scores across the regions, and we want different colors for each bar. So again, we're not having to create any charts manually at this point. Copilot's done that for us. But the good thing within this as well is, say we need to collate all this information together. So we had that day in the life where we were creating a presentation. Well, if we open the presentation and we go to the slide that we want to edit, we can see we've got some areas from here. But instead of having to jump back into Copilot in Outlook or in Word or in the standard chat, we can actually do it all from this screen. So we'd open Copilot and we'd go to Copilot Chats and More. And we can actually see here a history of all the chats that we've got. So in this case, we want the one that we generated in Word. So we can select that one, click on the arrow, and that actually opens the Copilot chat that we had within Microsoft Word. So we can see the information we've got here, we can copy that out, and we can paste that directly into PowerPoint. Again, we want to grab the bar chart we created. So again, we can open that, pick the other chat that we want to look at, push that live, and then again, copy the image and paste that in as well. Go to the next slide. In this case, we're going to create something new. So we use the Start New Chat, and we ask it to create an image. And off it goes. In real life, this can take a few minutes, say depending on the complexity of the image you ask it to do. The bigger the prompt and the more detailed you want, it takes slightly longer. But we've got a fairly basic image from here, and we can add that directly in. What we can also do, so we've got a presentation, but we feel there's something missing from this. We want to actually put a Q&A. Well, we can actually reference existing information that we've got within our environment. So this is when you start to get to the paid for license, because you're going to reference documents within your environment. So we put a / in there, and we select the documents that we want. You can paste the link from your SharePoint or your OneDrive in here as well, or if you start typing the name, it will come up. But again, we're going to look at a Word document, and we're going to look at a spreadsheet. Then off it goes. It's actually come up with some Q&A questions that we might get asked, or we can put in a document to supplement the presentation, or we could put this in the presentation. The choice is ours at that point. But we're not having to go into different applications, third party. It's within our line of work. It's sat there as we're doing the jobs. In this demo, I'm going to show you within Excel. So not everyone is an Excel wizard, and this is where you get the edit mode from here. And this really helps a lot of people who just need to do some bits within Excel, but they're not strong on formulas. So I'm very fortunate, and my wife is an accountant. So if I'm creating a lot of data sets, or I'm using formulas, I'm creating pivot tables, if I get stuck and she's working from home, I can just go prod her, get her to come around the side of the desk, fix what I've broken, she'll call me an idiot, and then we can get it working. Nowadays, Copilot can do that for me without calling me an idiot, so it's always a nice benefit. But in this case, we'll go in agent mode, or it does appear as edit mode, depending on the version of Excel you're running. But we're going to give it a prompt. So we want to build a loan calculator. We need it to compute the monthly payments based on the user inputs for the loan amount, annual interest rates, terms in years, generate a schedule showing the monthly payments, principal, interest, remaining balance. We want it in a table, and we're actually telling it to pull the data on interest from the web. And we could specify if it was a file that we had internally, or if it was a particular website that we were using, we could reference that directly. In this case, we're just telling it to pull from the web. And off it goes. So what it's done here, it's actually built this calculator for us. But we want to check that the logic's right. So we can see from the one prompt, we can expand and look at the reasoned in. And then from here, we can see what it's done each step of the way. So we can double check everything that we need to. We can also look at the details. So it'll give us formula information, tell us how it works. And again, if you are presenting numbers, and I always say this to my team, even if Copilot's getting those numbers, you need to double check them. You need to know how those numbers are worked out. Because if you're presenting numbers, if those numbers are inaccurate, that's on your head. Blaming AI doesn't cut it. You need to understand the data you're presenting. But from here, we can actually start to show the details as well. So it will give us a bit of understanding of what it's actually done. And then we asked it to go to the web for the interest rates. If we jump in the sources, we can see where it's pulled this from. As I said, we can reference individual sites if we wanted, or spreadsheets that we've got, or give it an interest rate as part of the prompt, and it'll build that in for us. But it has built an interactive sheet, so if we change the loan value, it's going to change all the calculations for us. So very, very powerful, very quick to get started, rather than trying to work out how you do it, what the formula is. Doing some Google searches, Copilot can start to build this out for you. We then look within Microsoft Word. Again, we've got Copilot in the corner. And this is where we do have differences. So if we just put a prompt in without putting it into edit mode or agent mode, we're asking this to turn these notes into a polished one-pager. It's actually made that for us, so we could just copy and paste it into a brand new document that we want. But if we want to start using the features that we've paid for, we just switch it into edit mode or agent mode, and then we put that same prompt in. What we're going to see on the left-hand panel is it starts to change that document for us. And again, we can view what it's done, how it's done it, what its logic is behind it. Again, we've got some more very brief notes on this one, a brief letter. Again, turn it on to agent mode, jump into this, and we want to rewrite this document as a formal proposal. So there we go, we've given it the instructions and it's going to rewrite it based on what we've got. We can see what it's done, but if we're not happy with it, we can actually keep prompting to strengthen this document. So we're going to strengthen the justification by clearly connecting the request. So we're telling it to do certain bits within there. If we don't like the changes, we can roll it back. But again, what we can do is just keep prompting until we're happy with the document. Again, we can always go in and manually change bits as well, but this is adding bits as we go. And there we go. We can see it's fleshed that out from what 4 or 5 lines that it was originally into a more tailored letter for us. The final one, because I'm conscious on time, is we're going to look at Microsoft PowerPoint. So again, this has got the Copilot icon in the bottom right and the top right. But we'll click on the one in the top. And again, we want to put it in agent mode or edit mode. And then we can actually pick what we want to do. So in this case, we're going to go to this slide and we're going to give it a prompt. So we can see there's quite a few acronyms. I know in the finance world as well as the IT world, we love an acronym. So what we want to do is highlight those in bold and change the color of them so they stand out. So without having to do any of this manually and select the text that we want, Copilot will do this for us and we can see that it's made those changes. We're also aware that we've got people who might not know what these acronyms are. So we're going to ask it to make a glossary slide for us. Again, we don't have to do this manually. We've told Copilot, it will create it for us. And there we go. It's put it the slide after, then we can move it up and down as we need. We've got a table within here with cities in the US. Well, actually what we want to do is update the slides for the UK market. So again, instead of having to research the cities, put the cities in, put the populations in, we can ask Copilot to do this as well. And there we go. So it's changed the cities for the UK, it's changed the population, sales targets are what we're setting, so that would leave as is. And we can see that it's changed. But then if we need to tidy it up, rather than having to manually tidy up slides, Copilot can do this for us. It might be we need to change the icon, change some text. In this case, we want to align all the pictures and move the names. So here we go. We're going to ask Copilot to do this. It's going to look at the slide. And there we go. It's lined everything up for us without us having to manually move anything. And then we can check any of the other slides that we need. We can move things as we need to around this and get it to do what we want. So we can see it's actually moved that glossary down to the bottom. But very easy in the line of work. We're not having to jump out into different applications or create documents or presentations in a separate application, then open it and copy and paste out of it. As we go and work, we've got all the information we need in front of us within the top right and within the panel on the right hand side. It's very easy. We're not having to learn a brand new interface. And that's me done with a demo. So I'm going to throw this back over to David.
Thank you very much, Ben. So hopefully that gave you a really insightful view of that kind of intelligence layer that we talked about as part of the overall. Let me just share my deck again. We've just got a couple more slides that we'll lean on. So obviously the core pillars of this presentation are about that intelligence layer and trust. Trust is all about making sure that your data is protected, access is controlled, and AI operates within the boundaries of your business, and trust starts with security. So I think, seeing some of the polls here, I think this really resonates with what we're seeing as some of your guys' concerns here. So 80% of people really, before we're interacting, are concerned about data oversharing and data leaks. Perhaps this is a significant concern, especially for where you've got a lot of IP and the like within your organization. The Copilot controls obviously sit underneath what we call Purview, which is the data security elements of Microsoft 365. We've also got the Defender suite and Entra that controls identity and the endpoint protection elements and security of your environment. So these all overlay over the top of it. There are also tools within SharePoint, so SharePoint Advanced Management, which is lit up when you enable Copilot in your tenant. You can actually use SharePoint Advanced Management to help you with the governance of certain areas. It's great for reporting on things like data oversharing. So that's a really useful and powerful tool that can be leveraged just by adding Copilot to your tenant before you even necessarily license any of the users. I think 41% there identify risky AI use as a significant concern. And AI governance and risk visibility, I think this is an area, certainly with the advent of agentic workflows and the likely organic growth of that area. This is where the next focus is going to be significant around the challenges from a governance perspective. Within the Copilot environment, Microsoft 365 has the Copilot Admin Blade, which gives you some really good visuals. It's called the Copilot Control Center. Various pieces are lit up dependent on the licensing you're using, but we're getting good visuals around what your standard overview is, what your security stance is, the usage of Copilot. So anyone that's licensed, we can see how much they're using certain areas of Copilot, whether that license is well used for that individual, whether there's a training requirement, whether we could re-provision it to somebody else. Lots of other things around billing, about setting your base settings, and all those kinds of things are all controlled within that environment. And the underlying SKU is really important. So we're talking about Microsoft Business Premium really, or Microsoft E3 as the kind of core level that provides you with that Defender, Intune, conditional access, and Purview tool suite that you can wrap around and help to secure your environment. So these are fundamentals to how you can do this. The guys at Lugo can really give you much more advice around that. I don't want to dwell too much on it now. This one is a really powerful slide around getting that return on investment, but I think this is the kind of key stat is don't expect a week one return on investment. It's a learning curve. Doing the adoption and doing it right and in a structured manner is important, and it takes time for the individual to really start to realize those return on investment gains. So I think you're looking at a 6-month turnaround really to see that true return on investment. But how much time you can save depends on how much you use it. That really is limited by how your imagination works. Hopefully we've given you some real insights into areas that you can explore and try to see those gains for yourselves. We've got a couple of use cases here. We like to highlight the health one. Obviously, the health industry has been slightly reticent to adopt it, again around data concerns primarily. But seeing a health organization provide us with this case study, around how the Copilot tool has helped them to really generate return on investment, show significant gains in collaboration, productivity, and content creation is a really insightful. This one's really powerful as well because this is a power bank. So they rent power banks basically. So you'll see them in large shopping centres, but they use things like Copilot to get them data insights to work out what the footfall's going to be within a certain area. Do we place it near the food court, which is probably premium floor space, but footfall's going to be higher. How they do their research prep, what competition is there, those kinds of things. So again, seeing really interesting use cases there. And then finally, it's a 3-pillar approach to being successful with adopting Copilot. The leadership buy-in is absolutely key, making sure that you've got a clear direction, making sure that you've got an AI strategy, that you know why you're doing AI and what kind of thing you're trying to achieve. It's not just fear of missing out. This really is, structural change. It's transformational, but having that guidance from above is key. Coupled with human change, so making sure that your users are skilled, they're learning how to use prompts correctly, they're understanding how to use those use cases within their work environment, how to develop that, how to share prompts, how to really build good, robust prompts. So that skilling and training piece is hugely important, and building a champions network is a key way to assess that, and that sitting on the underlying fabric that you've built with your readiness state, so a secure and data secure environment. So making sure that your technical side of the business is properly governed and controlled to give you that 3 pillars of adoption. A few quick key resources here. I won't dwell on that one, and we'll push on. This is a comparison sheet between what you get for free. So as we said, that free Copilot chat that's enabled with every Microsoft 365 license, and then the paid for premium M365 Copilot or Copilot for Business SKU. These are the features. And I did mention the scenario library earlier, but this really is a great resource if you're looking for inspiration. So using specific personas, specific roles, you can dive into use cases here. The Viva learning experience is lit up when you have Copilot. So within Teams, you should have a little learning tab here, and this gives learning pathways along the Copilot journey. Maybe not the most robust training, but there's lots of other facilities out there. So Microsoft Learn, there's certifications now. YouTube is a great resource to learn new skills as well within this space. And that is us. So I'll hand back to Liz.
Thank you very much to David and to Ben. That was really insightful. Thank you. I will just open up our final poll at this point. I appreciate some people can't see the poll if you're anonymised. You have to be logged into your Teams app, I think, to see the poll, but I'll pop up that final one and let us know about what would help you most to move forward with Copilot. So I'm just going to pull together the 4 things that I want to leave you with today, and more importantly, what you're ready to act on. So we have structured adoption. Your data stays your own. Measure before you scale, and utilize Lugo as your trusted guide through this process. And remember, if you do have any questions, we still have the Q&A panel open. So feel free to pop some questions in there. We're just coming up to the end of our hour. So just before we leave you, there is something that we see consistently, and it's organisations come to us really excited about Copilot. And then we run an assessment and we find gaps that they didn't know were there. So not because they've done anything wrong, but these gaps are just entirely typical. The difference is really about knowing where yours are before you invest. So we did an assessment recently for a Scottish professional services firm. So they had a 2-star readiness rating with gaps across 6 capability areas. It's not unusual, it's a very typical result. So we've got a readiness assessment that we can offer you, which gives you a readiness score and a capability gap analysis, prioritised recommendations and peer benchmarking, so you can see how you compare to similar organisations. So the question really isn't whether you have any gaps, it's where they are and how we can support you with them. So I'm delighted to share that as part of attending the event today, we're offering a completely free AI readiness assessment. So get your phones out, scan the QR code. So open up your camera app and hover it over the QR code. It takes about 5 minutes to fill this in, so something to do after the session today. And it will give you a clear personalised baseline of where your organisation stands on AI readiness before you spend any money on your Copilot licenses if you don't have them already. So yeah, the deadline for closing this readiness assessment is 5 o'clock this Friday, the 10th of July. And after that, we will share your readiness report with you. So if today has convinced you that Microsoft Copilot is the right solution for your organisation, and I hope it has, David and Ben have done a great job, then who do you buy your licenses through? So your Microsoft partner isn't just a billing relationship, they're the people that help you to adopt Copilot safely, configure it correctly and get real value from it over time. So Lugo brings 4 things your organisation needs: cybersecurity built in from day one, NCSE Cyber Advisor status, that's independent, government-backed recognition of our expertise, deep sector knowledge in accountancy, professional services, housing associations and charities, and ongoing support beyond the licence. So feel free to drop me an email if you want to have a chat about that. And I'm also really excited to tell you about something that we're launching very soon, the Lugo Copilot user group. So this is an exclusive community for Lugo Copilot licensed clients. So this will be relevant to you once you're on board. We'll meet in person at our Edinburgh office, or you can join via Microsoft Teams. Our first session is going to be a promptathon. So I'm sure you'll see David and Ben again, hands-on Copilot prompting together, learning from each other, building real skills. In the future sessions will be member-led, so driven by what you actually need. So again, if you're interested in that, please just drop me an email. So now it's over to you. We are just hitting 33 minutes past. We have had a few questions, but they've been more practical in the Q&A. So if you do have anything, please pop it in now. There's no question that's too basic. If you're wondering it, I guarantee that someone else in the room is also wondering the same thing. So whether it's questions on Copilot features, security, licensing, AI readiness assessment, or the user group, they are all welcome. So we'll see if any pop in, and I'll just give that a moment. And I'll just pop back and we'll close off that poll. And I'll just bring David and Ben back onto the screen. See what we have here. Thank you, Graham. He couldn't spot which one of the presenters was AI generated.
It was me.
I know.
I would have given myself hair.
I know. Wonder what would all have changed. I wouldn't have had a cold to start with. I don't know if you can select that as part of AI. Not yet, I don't think. Thank you all. I don't think there's any other questions coming in at the moment, but if there are, you've got my contact details, so please don't hesitate to reach out. So that just leaves me to thank you so much. That brings us to the end of today's session. Genuine thank you again to David, Fortnam and Ben Voce from Ingram. Expertise and insight today has been exceptional. And I know everyone here has taken a lot away from it. I know I have. Our colleagues in the background that have been helping out, Martin and Stephen, I'm sure they will have as well. So 3 things that you might want to consider doing before Friday. 1, complete your free AI readiness assessment. The QR code's back on the screen just now. The deadline's Friday. That's Friday the 10th of July at 5 p.m. Just takes 5 minutes to run through it. If you want to talk about your own Copilot licensing, maybe a small adoption group within your firm or your organisation, just drop me an email. And the same if you're already a Lugo client and you already have a Copilot license, we'll be getting in touch with you anyway about the user group. And if not, just drop me a line. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to speak to many of you very soon. Thank you.